What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why do Canadians say A? Why? Why do they do it? If there's one thing that Canadians are known for, it's saying A, especially to Americans. Canadians are known for saying A, and it is just this delightful, almost magical linguistic phenomenon that can basically turn any statement or thing into a question. You could be like bagels, eh? And suddenly you're asking a question about bagels all of a sudden just by using this word. But does anybody out there know why this word is used? How did this all start? How did A come to exist? How is it so popular? How is it so useful? Why does A mean what it means? I have to know. I have to get to sleep tonight. I have to figure out the truth behind this. Okay, I don't mean to be too dramatic, but honestly, it's a pretty good question, and I think the answer is going to be pretty fascinating. So I have this little video here that's going to hopefully explain why do Canadians say A. So, with that being said, let's take a look.
Canadians are famous for their use of A, and it turns out this little two-letter word predates our country's very confederation. But where did it come from, and why do we use it?
Wow, this is old. That's another thing. I didn't know how old A is. Who started the A? Who started the A train? Talk about starting a fad. Man, I gotta know now.
The earliest reference that researchers have found in literature takes us back to an Irish play written in 1773.
What?
And then, with the influx of immigration, it was found here in a Thomas Chandler Halliburton book called The Clockmaker, written way back in 1836.
An Irish play in the 1700s. That's what we're going with. An Irish play.
And then, with the influx of immigration, it was found here in a Thomas Chandler Halliburton book called The Clockmaker, written way back in 1836.
Wow, and so that's the first official documentation of A in Canadian literature in 1836. Almost 200 years ago, of A's.
That book has A sprinkled throughout the dialogue, indicating we've been using it for as long as Canadian English has been around.
Oh my gosh. See, that's like very satisfying to find out, honestly. That's a big question I had about all this is Canadians are so well known for the use of A. I was just wondering, when did that all start? And at least 200 years ago. Okay.
Skip forward to the 1970s, and Time magazine published an article all about A as a true Canadianism. But it was in the 80s that A became satire when CBC TV introduced us to a pair of beer-swilling brothers on SCTV.
I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
How's it going, eh?
Bob and Doug McKenzie's plaid-wearing, hockey-playing, A-saying persona created a stereotype that has been with us ever since.
Whoa, wait, what? Wait, what? This right here, this is like the genesis of the Canadian stereotype for like Americans, like this like comedy sketch here. I actually recognize the actor on the left there, who was in a lot of movies when I was growing up. This is the start of of the Canadian stereotypes. I never knew you could point to like one thing, and I don't know if this is the end all be all, but like the lumberjack sort of plaid shirts, the use of A, I think there's beer there, Canadian beer.
True Canadianism. But it was in the 80s that A became satire when CBC TV introduced us to a pair of beer-swilling brothers on SCTV.
I'm Bob McKenzie. This is my brother Doug.
How's it going, eh?
Bob and Doug McKenzie's plaid-wearing, hockey-playing, A-saying persona created a stereotype that has been with us ever since.
Oh my gosh. I never knew that you could like point to like a single television show, but honestly that would make a lot of sense why all Americans have like the same exact stereotypical image in their mind of the hockey, plaid, use of the word A, beer, like all the same exact thing. It's because of this. It's because of this.
Ted, this hydro bill is bigger than Louis Sir's biceps. What, you leave the carburetor on all night, eh?
I moved here from Canada and they think I'm slow, eh?
Now, this
Yeah.
little word is what's called a confirmational, where you're tacking it onto the end of a sentence to confirm whether something is true.
Ah, well, okay. I mean, this is a whole other part of this video that I wanted to get to, is what's the true meaning of the word a? How can it be used? I'm pretty sure there's different ways you can use it. They're saying here, first and foremost, it's a confirmational, whereas I personally have always thought it's used to make something a question. Like, looks like rain, eh? You know, is that you're sort of asking a question, like, does it look like rain, or am I wrong? And are you just looking for them to agree? Is it just a way to say, like, an observation and have someone else be like, yeah, I agree, like, confirm it? I could totally see that.
This is not an unusual thing in language. Linguists have found equivalents in East Asia, in Africa, and yes, even in the States. But in
Yeah.
America, they say, huh.
Huh. See, it's funny. We do say huh. Sometimes we say right, like looks like rain, right? Or looks like rain, huh? I don't know if we really say huh the same way Canadians use a. I don't know if that's exactly accurate. The only truth here is that the way that Americans, whatever word they do use, it's a lot more like, I don't know, aggressive. Like saying a is like very polite. It's very like soft and just like, I don't know, makes the sentence into a question or do you agree with this in a very sort of easygoing way. Whereas Americans are like, this cake looks terrible, right? Like, or, huh? You know, it's just like not quite as elegant in a way.
And the constructs set up around huh are different compared to where we use a.
Yeah.
Humans are hardwired to notice those subtle differences, which are called minimal pairs in linguistics.
Yeah, I mean, Americans would only say huh if we do not understand something or if I don't hear you. If I didn't hear what you said, I'd be like, huh? You know, like kind of just like that as well. It has to be, you have to really look dumbfounded. Like, huh? Eh? You can even do that. It can come in different types of huhs. Huh? Eh? Eh? You know, you can really go crazy. Are there different ways to say a like that?
And that tension, that little disparity that Americans notice but can't quite put their finger on, that really draws an outsider's ear and has them make fun of us a little bit more.
Don't mean to take too much space up down here, eh? That's a good accent, and I do not apologize for it.
Oh, is the narrator saying a is so like, it's very obvious, at least to Americans, when someone says a, because it's obviously not really part of American English. It is the narrator saying a really sticks out easily, and that's why Americans tend to like zero in on it and be like, you said a, Canadian, haha. That's like part of the explanation? It's very obvious.
And while A is heard elsewhere, such as New Zealand and the little island of Guernsey,
Really?
one thing that researchers suggest is totally unique to Canada is what's called the narrative A, which is used during storytelling. So I'd say, then I walk into the house, eh? And it's just filled with people, eh? And we're not really expecting a response there. It's just drawing the storyteller's audience in.
What? I did not know about this. This is just sprinkling in the A's for fun. I mean, I guess for Americans, you could use right. You could be like, oh, he walked into the house, right? And he was getting his dinner ready, right? And he put on his coat, right? And it would kinda be the same sort of thing, but I mean, that'd be quite unusual for an American to talk like that. I'd be like, yes, I'm listening. Okay, stop. I hear you. But do Canadians find themselves using A as a narrative device, did he say? Just a way to sprinkle it in to make sure people are listening and engaging, basically? Am I understanding this correctly?
We're not really expecting a response there, it's just drawing the storyteller's audience in. Now, while young Canadians
Okay.
are largely exchanging A for right, as in, so then I walk into the house, right, and it's just filled with people, right?
Yeah.
It's still serving the same purpose.
Yeah,
Hey
yeah.
is also being used as an alternative because it's not quite as stigmatized. But research shows A is still heard right across the country, with particularly large dollops of the word thrown into Northern Ontario speech.
People are saying hey? Hey instead of A? I keep the A. You know, forget the haters. Forget the Americans who are like, oh, A, Canadian. No, A is cool. Like, I love that it's so Canadian. It's so uniquely Canadian. Although, apparently, according to this video, some parts of New Zealand say it as well. So, that's interesting.
Now, naysayers of A might say that these are just two little letters tacked on to buy time as you think of your next thought. But A does a lot more, turning a statement into a question. A
Yes.
one-way remark turns into an exchange. So there's a lot of humanity baked into A. A?
Exactly. A. Wow. Yeah, he did mention it, turning things into a question. That's what I thought A was for, but A is for a lot more use than I thought. That's something I love about it, is its versatility. Like, it's very cool. Like, if you care at all about linguistics and speech, it's like a fascinating concept of like this word is like a utility to do different stuff. Anyway, I have one more video here. That's what does A mean? And I believe they're talking to Canadians here. I mean, this video is by the CBC. So let's take a look at this as well. What does A mean?
When it comes to Canadianisms, one word comes up a lot.
Oh, yeah.
A.
Turns out it's a word with many meanings. Researchers at UBC spent 11 years updating the Dictionary of Canadianisms. The entry for A
What?
is nearly 5,000 words long.
What? They spent... It doesn't surprise me that it's in the dictionary, but 11 years of just trying to figure out what the heck this... What does this mean? What does this A thing actually mean?
Well, if I didn't hear you, I'd say, A? Just to get you to repeat something. Or
Right.
I could say, that was a really great game, eh? Or
Yeah.
this one is called The Narrative A. I was going down the street, and I ran into my friend,
Wow. You know, somehow when she does it, like her examples, it all makes sense. I just had to hear a Canadian like do it naturally like that. Wow. Even the way she used it instead of huh. You could just be like, eh? Instead of huh? It sounds a little nicer. Okay.
Many Canadianisms are actually words for food that we eat here or trademarks that are uniquely Canadian. They're also regional words, like some of the ones used here in Montreal.
Oh?
For instance, the word for convenience store, dépanneur, or DEP for short.
Ooh.
I've never in my life actually said convenience store or like corner store. Does people say that?
What? I mean, that's a French Canadian thing, right? Interesting.
Other notable Canadian words.
Pudding? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Probably Timbits.
The orange cheesies.
All dressed.
Are you-
all dressed chips?
Yeah.
Canadian.
Out west, Fee says words like Chinook come from indigenous languages, while Newfoundlanders have enough unique words to have their own dictionary. The prairies
What?
have expressions like coffee row.
People who go...
I never realized that about Newfoundland, like that it has like its own sort of slang terms and linguistic terms as well. Like that's not the first time I've heard of that.
Go to Tim Hortons every morning for coffee, and then they talk about politics. I think it's something like, a word from the coffee row is that Stephen Harper isn't going to make it this time.
Differences aside, Fee says it's not just the words that make us Canadian, but the way we say them.
There are features of the way we pronounce words that allow other people to recognize us as Canadian. We may not hear it, but Americans probably would.
Yes, she's totally correct. I've picked up on this. It's like, I don't know, a simple way to say it is just like friendlier way of saying things, but just like more upbeat. Maybe if you had to be technical, it's almost like there's a rhythm to it. Like, oh, how are you doing? And and obviously this is a generalization, but I've heard quite a few Canadians on YouTube like speaking at this point, and there is just a kinder sort of tone and rhythm to the speech of like, oh, how's it going? Instead of an American like, how's it going? How's it going? Oh, how's it going? Yeah, like, and I know that's not true all the time, but it seems to be partly true.
The Dictionary of Canadianisms is set to be published online later this month. Emily Brass, CBC News, Montreal.
Wow. Interesting. So that little video wasn't totally about the use of the word a, but just like Canadianisms, as they put it. And I did pull up this website they were mentioning, this the Canadianisms and this dictionary where they were defining what a means. And I was looking here and it was trying to kind of explain how a can be used. And according to this, it can be used to elicit confirmation of one's statement. You have a new dog, eh? Like, you're looking for them to just be like, yes. You're not really asking a question. A question is like yes, no, or has a long answer. It's just like, you know the answer is yes. So you're like, oh, you have a new dog, eh? And they'll be like, oh, yes. It's just like a conversation starter almost. And we also have to elicit acknowledgement. I have a new dog, eh? I have a new dog, eh? So that's not even a question because you know the answer to that. You're basically like just trying to make a statement and have someone else acknowledge it? Man, it's like, basically, if you really want to talk about something and you don't have a great reason to bring it up, you can just be like, I got a new car, eh? And, you know, you're not trying to brag, but you want to have a little talk about your new car. So is that what we're doing here? Okay. To create or confirm agreement. Right. These are all kind of similar, though. To confirm agreement. This is when you want to say something and you basically are forcing the other person to agree. My new car looks great, eh? And they basically have no choice. They better say yes. They have to. So, wow, you can do a lot with the word a. I never realized. You can even kind of mind control them into complimenting your new stuff. But anyway, I'm mostly joking, but partly not. To confirm a shared sentiment. What a great game, eh? Yeah, that's a good example. I've heard it used like that. To confirm compliance? Huh? Get me a drink, eh? Oh my god. What? Wow, you can just get people to bring you drinks. Get me a pizza, eh? If I just like start walking around Canada and I'm like, get me some poutine, eh? Like, is people just gonna throw poutines at me? I wouldn't blame them. Throw them at my head. Expression of disbelief. Really? You can be like, hey, like that? Expression of disbelief? Really? To elicit repetition. Oh, it's like saying, huh, or what? You can say, eh, that's one they were talking about. To check that the listener is following the narrative A we talked about. You just throw it in to just make sure someone is paying attention, basically. Metalinguistical commentary to express a link to Canada? This is getting a little complicated. Huh? How's it going, eh? Had a good day, eh? What, just to show off your Canadian-ness? Okay. It's a good reason. I'm not sure I understood that one perfectly, but this was rather helpful, actually, because A can have a lot of meanings. That's also something I learned today. I am very, very happy to learn the origin of A, which was Ireland, funny enough, and all these different meanings of A, which I actually didn't know either. So this has been quite educational for me. I can rest easy. I can relax. The secret has finally been uncovered. So I enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture, and just stuff in Canada that I've never learned about or seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, Thanks for watching, and see you next time.